Hello friends! Today I would like to talk about stretching and yoga and how these things go together and my experience with it and how powerful it is. Okay, so I was a cheerleader for 8 years during middle school, high school, and my first year of college. And I remember we did cheerleading. A lot of people don't think it's a sport or whatever, but that is BS. Yeah, it's not a contact sport, but I mean, the stuff, you see us running, doing round-offs, back handsprings, flips, lifting up bodies. I remember I used to have this shirt that said, other athletes lift weights, cheerleaders lift athletes. We're lifting people off the ground and then they're spinning down in the air and we're catching them and stuff like that. So, but I remember when it would be time to warm up for practice, it was just we were all kind of sitting around talking. We'd spread our legs and just stretch forward and do a forward fold, and we weren't focused on form. It was just how deep into the stretch can you get? Let's quickly warm up and then get into these dangerous, potentially dangerous stunts with other humans, or these potentially dangerous backflips and cartwheels and all this shit. And so then my senior year of high school, I was at tumbling practice and I did a standing back tuck and I hurt something. I felt it mid flip. Something in my back went wrong, and it ended up I had a herniated disc, and I went to physical therapy for it and got steroid shots, but that pain never went away. I remember laying in my bed at night with this nerve pain shooting from my lower back all the way down my left leg. So eventually I ended up having surgery, which sucked. I was it was my second to last month of high school and I had back surgery and I couldn't lift over 10 pounds. My boyfriend at the time had to carry my stuff for me. And it's not the ideal situation. And so since then, I did more physical therapy and it's a lot better. I'm glad I had the surgery. But the reason I told that story is because I think that if we incorporated yoga and mindful stretching into children's lives earlier on, that we can prevent a lot of that stuff from happening. And I know there's kids yoga classes and things like that now. You might not know that. I wish I had been enrolled in something like that. I wish that was more of the kind of stretching we did to warm up for school sports, for cheerleading or football or gymnastics or basketball or whatever your sport is, wrestling, hockey, swimming, whatever. But so now the way I stretch today, it's not just how deep can I get into a pose as quickly as possible? How deep can I go into my splits just so I can touch the floor? It's with yoga, it's much more mindful. So when I'm going into a forward fold, I'm truly focusing on my posture. So it's about hinging from my hips, keeping a straight spine, and then tilting forward, and that bend is coming from the hips. So here's my legs, here's my torso. The bend is coming from here, and it's not just, how quickly can my head, arching that back so I can touch my head to my legs. That gets you all out of alignment, and you're going to get injuries that way. So I find that for stretching, and the older I get and the more I do it and the more experienced I become, I'm actually getting a lot better at stretching. And we talk about kids being more limber and flexible and things like that. But these days it's, I've read a lot about it, and I used to just like sit, do my stretches at cheerleading, talking to my friends, joking around, trying to get as close to the floor as I can, sit in front of the TV, maybe in like butterfly or whatever. And those things are like, it's good. Like you're still getting somewhat of a stretch, but there is so much more to stretching than just physically sitting with your body in one position. I think, when we're not being mindful of what we're doing, our body is kind of in that like mode of like protecting us from any pain. So if I'm just like sitting in my side split, so the splits that go that way, in front of the TV, and I'm not thinking about it, I'm just kind of hanging out there but watching the TV show, then the split, my body's gonna like put those protectors on so I don't like injure anything. So I'll kind of tense up in areas thinking I'm doing something good. And maybe a little bit I am, but when I do mindful stretching, so when I sit in my everything room, which I explained was this room I'm in, where I stretch, do yoga, practice pole, play guitar, make art, do homework. There's a reason I call it my everything room. When I do it in here, and maybe I have some music on, but I'm focused on the stretching. That's my purpose right then. It's not, I'll get a stretch in while I practice this homework or whatever. It's, I get into the posture, and then breath is very important in yoga. So I breathe, and I used to think it was kind of hokey or whatever, but when yoga teachers would say, think about the tight area and send that breath to that area where you're feeling that stretching sensation. But like it works. So if I'm like in a side split like this and I'm feeling tightness in these areas of my legs, then when I'm inhaling through my nose, I actually bring awareness to the spot that has that sensation, and I imagine the breath going there. And you do have control over these little parts of your body that you don't think that you can really have control over. But when you're setting an intention and bringing awareness to that area, it allows your body to like relax more or stretch a little deeper in that area. It's really, really cool. And like, it might sound like, you can't just think your way into stretching, but really, I urge you, when stretching, make it an intentional practice. Make it focused on your alignment and the things that are happening inside your body in those certain areas. Like, what is happening with your body when you're in a certain position? Like, imagine that alignment. I mean, imagine your spine. When you're arched over trying to reach your toes, do you think this kind of motion is good for the spine, just crunching it? Or like, when our head is back, just like not having any focus on what our neck is doing. It's not good to crunch the cervical spine like that. But when I create space and then intentionally tilt back, but keeping strength in the neck, these things like truly help with posture, and they truly help with flexibility. And it's really, really cool. Like, I actually really enjoy stretching. It's no longer simply a workup or a warm up to get into something else quickly. It's a purpose. It has its purpose. It's something that I look forward to and I enjoy. Like, I breathe into that sensation. And yeah, our minds tell us, get out of this now. A lot of times when we're stretching, it's like, ow, 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 get out of it. But like, yoga is about silencing that mind chatter. So breathing and then enjoying the fact that you're feeling this sensation, enjoying the fact that your body is becoming stronger and more limber and flexible by doing this intentional stretching. It's truly like a spiritual experience, and it's really awesome. It also, when my mind is focused on the areas that I'm stretching and on my breathing and on my alignment, it's not all over the place. Like, oh, what's on TV? Ooh, what do I have to do after this? What happened before this? What am I having for dinner? All that shit that we think about all day long, or at least I do. I don't know how your brain works, but I'm pretty sure a lot of people can probably relate. But yeah, I urge you, try some mindful stretching. Focus on the form rather than how deep you can go, because at the end of the day, if your head can touch your knees but you're in the wrong form, you're going to injure yourself, and you're not actually truly stretching. You're just contorting your body in a way that's not good for it, and it's misaligned. And hinge where your body's supposed to hinge, at the hips, at the knees, elbows. Like, you'll get there. It's really cool. Stretching feels amazing, and it is an intentional practice. So I think I've said enough about stretching for one day, but it's magical. So I urge you to try. I will talk to you all later.